We live in an age intoxicated with its own tools. Rewire the brain, they say. Hack the habit, optimize the mind, build a better you. And yet, with all that hammering at the circuitry, has anyone changed the life? Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit unto his stature? The master did not stutter. He simply said, take no thought, not a bit. Willpower cannot touch what it cannot reach. Thought cannot remake the life it did not create. Well, a question, when you say my mind, where is the I that owns it? In the head? In a lobe? In a tangle of nerves or a flutter of chemistry? Localize it. Point to it. Now where am I? Am I in the skull or in the pulse or in the gray matter? No. No surgeon has ever yet found any me inside of a body. Absent from the body, present with the Lord. I am not in the physical, and if I am not in the physical, then the mind, so-called, cannot be my master. It may be my instrument, it may serve, it may translate, it may report, but master, never. You see, the paradox that offends the modern ear, transformation is not achieved by force. It is received by surrender, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Rewiring, if you wish to use that word, is not something you do to yourself. It is what happens when you cease pretending that the mind is the power. It is the spirit that quickeneth. The flesh profiteth nothing. When the personal mind yields, when the I that thinks itself a manager bows out of the director's chair, there is a click, yes, we will speak of it more, by and by the click of conscious union, in which thought reorganizes itself under presence without argument and without whip. Do not mistake me. This is not pseudoscience. This is not a shinier technique for self-improvement. I hope you will never try to use God to tidy up a personal project. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. The mind, the brain, the regimen, when idolized, are just other gods, polished and plausible. The commandment is a law, not a suggestion. You violate 2 times 2 is 4, and you have the wrath of mathematics upon you. You violate thou shalt have no other gods, and you bring upon yourself the confusion that follows idolatry. As you sow, so shall ye reap. No condemnation, only law. What then is the way? First, we unseat the pretender. We stop consulting the mind as oracle. We retire the manager who cannot manage life because it did not author life. Be still and know that I am God. Still the willing, still the fixing, still the rehearsals of self-commendation and self-accusation. In the stillness, a curious thing occurs. You discover you are not in the body. You have never been in it. Your spiritual you isn't confined to the material body. And then, because you are not in it, you cannot get out of it, you cannot abandon it, and you cannot be abandoned by God. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. From that oneness flows the order that men call rewiring, but it is not a human engineer at the panel. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. So let us set aside every ambition to manipulate synapses, every hunger to perform a private miracle for private ends. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Added, not wrestled. We will not project. We will not force. We will not conjure. We will yield. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. In that consent, mind steps down from the throne and takes its rightful post as servant, and the work, God's work, begins to appear. Let us now speak plainly about you, about I, not the name on the paper, not the face in the glass, not the pulse that beats in the wrist, the I that says, my body, my mind, my thoughts, Where is that I? Localize it if you can. Is it in the chest, in the skull, in a curl of gray matter? No, no. No surgeon has ever yet found any me inside of a body. The most honest knife has never uncovered an eye. The scriptures give the only sensible direction, absent from the body, present with the Lord. I am not in the physical. Your spiritual you isn't confined to the material body. You can't leave it because you aren't in it and never have been in it. Consider how life has been pretending to you. When you were 5, you were sure you were 5. At 15, the same. I wore a different frame, a different tone of voice, a different appetite. At 50, again, another arrangement. The clothes changed, the height altered, the chemistry rearranged, yet the sense of I always the same. Always I. Before Abraham was, I am. Do you not feel it? Not I was, I am. The body has never been anything but the scene on which I appears, not the I itself. The body is the garment. The I is the wearer. The garment frays and mends, grows and shrinks, the wearer remains. Now bring this same light to what you call mind. Thoughts rise and set like weather. 1 hour they are bright, another they are leaden. They move across the sky of awareness in shapes of fear, pride, cleverness, confusion, ecstasy. Who is watching that sky? If you were the thought itself, you could not observe it. If you were the mood, you could not recognize it as mood. The thinker you imagine yourself to be is only a role played by thoughts combining with memory and sensation. Awareness is prior. I am the witness of the traffic, not the traffic. The mind reports. It never originates life. The brain is an admirable reporter, a fine translator of light and sound and taste. But the awareness that knows the report is not the report. It is the spirit that quickeneth. The flesh profiteth nothing. Why does this matter to our subject? Because as long as you believe you are an organism of body-mind, you will spend your days repairing and controlling the machine, tightening bolts, swapping circuits, polishing panels forever, postponing peace because machines always require another adjustment. That is what the world means by rewiring. It is an endless service call. And there is no condemnation in this, only law. As you sow, so shall ye reap. Sow the identity of a machine, reap the worry of a mechanic. But if the I that you are is spirit, if my conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea, then the mind cannot be my master any more than the typewriter masters the author. It becomes an instrument, a clean channel, a servant that carries the dictation of presence into form. Do not misread me. We do not despise mind, we place it. We do not bully thought, we bless it by showing it its seat in the household. We do not tinker with wires to make them behave. We abide as the electricity, the living presence, and the wires do what wires do. They conduct. I and my Father are one. And in that oneness, the so-called rewiring happens of its own accord, quietly, without whip, because the false monarch has been dismissed and the true king reveals himself as I. So the aim before us is not to fix the mind, not to push thoughts around a board like little soldiers, but to rest as the I that is present before thought, during thought, and after thought. Sit, if you will, not to manipulate anything, but to remember I am not in the body, I am not in the mind, absent from the body, present with the Lord. From that remembrance comes a soft dethronement. Mind steps down. Spirit stands forth. There is a peace in it, a moral seriousness in it, because we are not inventing a new method. We are returning to the first commandment. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, not the God of brain, not the God of mood, not the God of regime. One God, one I, one life, and then a curious order begins to show. Thoughts lose their tyranny and gain their usefulness. Feelings loosen their grip and begin to serve love. Memory ceases to prosecute and starts to testify to grace. This is not our doing. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. When identity shifts from body, mind to spirit, the throne is vacated and rightly occupied. The weather of thought goes on, as weather must, but you are the sky, untouched, illumined, spacious. In that sky, the click will come in its time, and with it the effortless reorganization men call rewiring. Until then, our prayer remains simple, and it is enough. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. If the mind is not the master, then what is this modern hunger to rewire but the old hunger to rule? There are two methods set before us as plainly as day and night. One is willpower. It strains, it rehearses, it replaces one thought with another, like moving furniture in a room that still belongs to the same tenant. It says, I will not think fear, I will think courage. And for a minute it is proud of itself, and in the next minute it is weary, because the same little self must keep the furniture polished. The other is receptivity, not the inertia of a dull will, but the intelligent withdrawal from personal outlining, the ceasing of interference so that what is already true may announce itself. It does not say, I will make. It says, Father, glorify thyself. I can of mine own self do nothing, the Master said. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. That is not poetry, that is the principle. I am merely the instrument. God is the actor. God is the doer and the beer. When the instrument stops playing itself, when the flute ceases to blow upon its own reed, then the breath of life may sing. Willpower is the flute leaning over and trying to whistle. Receptivity is the surrender that permits the musician to take his place. Surrender is not resignation. Do not mishear me. Surrender is not flopping into fate and calling it spirituality. Surrender is the conscious, reverent withdrawal from personal dictation. It is the refusal to outline the way in which God must appear. It is the quiet decision to stop interfering with what is, to stop improving what is already whole, to stop instructing omniscience. Be still and know that I am God. Not be lazy, be still. Not abandon what is yours to do. Abandon the sense that you are the doer. Why do the mind hacks tire the soul? Because they keep a ghost on the throne, the personal doer. They polish the chains and then boast that they glitter. They move the bars of the cell farther apart and call it freedom, while the same warden walks the corridor. You can exhume an old fear and nail a brave affirmation over it, but if the I doing the nailing still believes it is the source of safety, exhaustion is certain, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Might grows tired, spirit is tireless. Power over thoughts eventually collapses into fear of failure. Spirit does not fail because it is the life acting as itself. Consider the law involved. There is a cosmic order that does not bend to private intention. As you sow, so shall ye reap. If you sow the belief that you are a private manager of mind, you must reap the strain of maintenance. If you sow receptivity to the Father within, you reap the freedom of God doing God's own business through you. This is neither passivity nor fatalism. It is alignment. In alignment, you will answer your emails, bake your bread, tend your children, build your firm perhaps, but the axis has changed. The mind has ceased to be an autocrat and has become a clerk, faithful, useful, quick to record the instruction of spirit. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. In that oneness, thought reorganizes without compulsion. The click will come, not because you forced a lever, but because you ceased to jam the mechanism with your insistence. Do you see now why the Master's word is so uncompromising? Take no thought. He did not say, take clever thought. He did not say, hack the thought. He said, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and then the mind, relieved of a role it was never designed to fill, begins to mirror the order of that kingdom. Ideas arrive unsummoned. Courage appears without its counterfeit swagger. Love courses through without being manufactured into kindness. You did not do it. You could not do it. It is the Spirit that quickeneth. The flesh profiteth nothing. So let us name it exactly. The deepest change comes when personal effort stops interfering and divine action is allowed to be. This is the core reframe. This is the doorway. You will not tug at the fruit. You will attend to the root. You will not project a result. You will honor the source. And to make it simple, to make it safe, to make it clean of every secret ambition, we adopt a single password. Not a magic word, not an amulet, but a surrender in syllables. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Thy grace, not my cleverness. Thy sufficiency, not my scarcity or surplus. In the quiet repetition of this truth, the personal will loosens its grip, the Father within takes his rightful work upon himself, and the mind, oh, wonderful mind, finds at last the rest of being a servant and the joy of being illumined. Absent from the body, present with the Lord, we do not force the click. We stop muffling it. And in that stopping, without fanfare and without strain, rewiring occurs because the life has once again been permitted to live. There comes a moment, and I can only call it a click because I have no better word. I have waited, sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 20. Sometimes I have had to set aside the hour and return later. But always it is the same simplicity. The waiting ends, and something within someone within makes himself known. The sense of managing life relaxes as if a hand unclasped. I am aware, quietly, that I and my Father are one. Not a thought about it, not a phrase I repeat to hypnotize myself, a knowing, absent from the body, present with the Lord. I am not in the physical. The moment is not in time at all. It is timeless, and yet it happens in the midst of a Tuesday morning or a sleepless night as naturally as breath. Then the mind, that industrious clerk, lays down its rubber stamps and looks up for instruction. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. In that oneness, the axis changes. Now let us guard this word, lest we spoil it. The click is not an emotion. Never. Not a bit. It is not a trance. It is not a visualization exercise. It is not a psychic thrill or a lovely ripple up the spine. No. The soul does not need fireworks to know it's Sunday. If you wept, that was your nervous system releasing pressure. If you felt a certain sweetness, thank God for the fragrance, but do not mistake the perfume for the rose. The click is not hypnosis. It requires no projection across space, no command spoken at life. I hope you will never try to make it into a technique, for techniques flatter the doer, and this is the end of the doer. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. What then is it? It is a quiet inner certainty that displaces self-management. Be still and know that I am God. In that instant, strain dissolves of itself, as ice yields to the gentle temperature of spring. Guidance does not arrive as a sentence booming from the ceiling. It is self-evident, like light revealing a path that was there before your eyes opened. You do not debate peace. Peace becomes the atmosphere in which thought breathes. Fearful rehearsals cease without a victory parade. The mind is not suppressed. It is re-employed. It takes dictation. It records, it organizes, but it no longer invents your life. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. And somehow, without your pushing, without your cleverness, the next rightness stands forth, perhaps a phone call, perhaps an apology, perhaps a rest. Why does this change everything? Because up to that moment, we have tried to manufacture peace as if it were furniture we could build and polish. After the click, peace is the room itself, and we simply live there. The peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds. Do you catch that? It keeps the mind. You do not keep the peace. Under that keeping, thought reorganizes as if a new gravity had entered the system. Habits that once clenched now find no host. Appetites that boasted fall strangely silent. The same email, the same diagnosis, the same ledger appears, but another law is present, and it governs without fuss. As you sow, so shall ye reap. Sow oneness, reap order. The flesh profiteth nothing. Spirit quickeneth everything it touches. I have seen it, and you will too, in the ordinary run of a day. A woman writes from Lisbon, I sat, saying nothing but thy grace is my sufficiency in all things, until even that fell away. And then it was as if someone had lifted a yoke from my shoulders. I rose and called the very man I had dreaded to face, and the words were given me. She did not get brave. Bravery got her. A businessman tells me he no longer bullies his projects into shape. He waits for the click in the morning, and in that climate the figures align, or else they do not, and either way he is free. My yoke is easy, and my burden is light, said the master. Do you think he lied, or did he speak from the click that was his abiding? Do not chase the feeling of it. Do not measure your holiness by the frequency of sparkles. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you, not because you pounded, but because you consented to stand at the door without scheming to break it. The click is not earned, it is recognized. It is the cessation of interference, the holy admission that thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. When that admission is true, even for a breath, self-management bows, and conscious union stands revealed as the only manager there ever was. Then, without fanfare, what the world calls rewiring takes place, because life unhindered lives. And in that living, again, quietly, sweetly, with moral seriousness, that you are not the body, not the mind, not the maker, but the witness through whom the maker shines. I and my Father are one. And that is enough. Let us make this very simple, very safe, and very clean of every superstition. Choose a chair low enough that your feet find the floor without strain. If a cushion is needed, take it. Let the back be supported, but not slouched. Place the feet settled, uncrossed, at ease. Rest your hands lightly upon your thighs or in your lap. Never grip, never clamp, never fold them in a posture of effort. Keep the arms relaxed, let the shoulders drop, close the eyes, not to become mystical, but to spare the eyes their errands. There is no occult reason in any of this, not a bit. It is only to quiet the body's intrusions so attention may rest. In this position, with my eyes closed, I am virtually unaware of having a body, absent from the body, present with the Lord. Do not complicate your breath. Do not count. Do not pattern. Let breath be breath. If an itch calls, answer it once and settle again. We are not punishing the body. We are kindly removing it from the center of the stage so that it need not distract the opening of the curtain. There is no magic here. There is mercy. Be still and know that I am God. Not be rigid. Be still. Now we name the inner stance. We have not come to bargain. We have not come to rehearse the trouble. We have not come to outline the answer or to dictate the hour of its appearing. desireless receptivity. That is the posture. If a phrase helps, let it be this and no other. For now, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Whisper it once or twice to gather the wandering sheep of thought, and then let even the words fall if they wish. We are not seeking a result, we are consenting to presence. I can of mine own self do nothing, said the Master. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. Protect the waiting with holy refusals. Do not outline, do not project, do not send thought, do not try to make silence. Do not even try to stop trying. Simply wait. If a plan trots out wearing your voice, dismiss it kindly. Not now. If fear begins a legal brief, you need not argue. Note it and let it pass through as weather through a sky that does not cling. If the mind asks, is it happening yet? Answer gently, we are not measuring. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. You are knocking, not battering the door. You see, I am not asking you to do, I am asking you to consent. 5 minutes, 10, perhaps less. Sit as one who knows there is a river and has ceased digging a personal well. We are not meddling with forces. We are not attempting an occult projection into anyone's affairs. I hope you will never try to do it. The law is love, and to love is to refrain from interference. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. Our non-interference is our obedience to the first commandment. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, not even the God of my impatient intention. If images rise, let them go. If scripture appears, let it warm the room, but do not build a sermon in your head. If you catch yourself bargaining, if you do this, I will do that, smile, and return to the password, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. In my conscious oneness with God, I find my peace, my guidance, my order. And if in this sitting no click is felt, do not conclude absence, never. The law is at work in your consent as surely as 2 times 2 is 4 in every room of the earth. As you sow, so shall ye reap. Sow non-interference, reap the quieting of the mind's meddling. When the body is comfortable, the will ungripped, and the desire to manage laid down, the climate is right. Then, if and when the click comes, it will find you not busy with your tools, but simply present. And if today it does not come, you have not failed. You have practiced truth. Take no thought for the morrow. Seek first the kingdom here and now. Leave the chair with the same quiet with which you entered it. Carry one sentence like a lamp into the corridor of your day. No outline, no force, only this. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. In that sufficiency, the mind takes its place as servant, and the life, unhindered, lives. And now, as soon as you adopt this posture of non-interference, expect a visitor. Do not be surprised. Do not be frightened. The mind will come clamoring at the door like an anxious steward who has misplaced the ledger. Why? Because silence threatens its favorite illusion that it is the author, the manager, the keeper of your life. In the first 5 minutes, it will present urgent problems that must be solved before you can possibly be still. It will manufacture spiritual ambitions, splendid visions of progress you must chase immediately. It will even recruit guilt, that old taskmaster, whispering that to be quiet now is irresponsible, selfish, negligent. Do you see the pattern? Every argument pleads for the same verdict. Keep thinking, keep controlling, keep the throne warm. Take no thought, said the Master. The mind responds, take at least this one thought, and this one, and this one. No. Let us inquire together, because an honest question is a lamp that shames shadows. Who is afraid of this silence? Is it the I that was before thought, that watches thoughts come and go without being carried along? Or is it a personal sense stitched together from memory and habit that is lived by controlling outcomes? When the surge rises, ask quietly, who fears this? Your true self, absent from the body, present with the Lord? Or the role of manager, which has mistaken busyness for being? The moment you watch it, it weakens. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Not stand anxious. Stand still. The watcher is not afraid. Awareness is not afraid. It is only the little sovereign who trembles as the real king approaches. Do not reduce this to psychology. It is law. As you sow, so shall ye reap. If you have sown decades of belief in a personal manager, expect the habit to protest when you step away from its desk. There is no condemnation in this, only law. But here is the sweet law on the other side. What you do not feed cannot rule you. Do not feed the panic with argument. Do not feed the guilt with counter-guilt. Look upon it and let it pass. Resist not evil, the Master said. He did not counsel surrender to wrong. He counseled refusal to wrestle shadows. And what of this fear of emptiness? The mind says, if I fall silent, I will fall into a void. No. Emptiness is not a vacuum. It is a clearing. It is the quiet meadow after the workmen have carried off the scaffolding so the building can at last be seen. In Genesis, the earth is without form and void, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, and God said, let there be light. The so-called void is the very womb in which the word is heard and light appears. Silence is not annihilation, it is recognition. It is not the absence of life, it is the absence of interference with life. Be still and know that I am God. Not be blank, be still enough to know. Here is our gentle cue, the same simple key we have kept. When thoughts surge, do not fight. Return to a single inward consent. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Whisper it once and then rest, as one who has placed the letter in the post and need not chase the mail coach down the road. If anxiety gathers new arguments, you do not argue back. You look and let them pass. If an urgent plan insists upon being born in this very minute, bless it and say, not now. If guilt prosecutes you for daring to be quiet, remember, there is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Jesus. Condemnation is not your shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. In your conscious oneness with God, you are not left to your own devices. You are held. Why, then, does resistance feel so convincing? Because control has been your food, and silence reveals it was never your life. The personal sense defends its diet. It would rather snack on emergencies than feast on presence, because presence ends its reign. He that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. Lose the life of managing, and you discover life managing itself as you. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. Perfect love casteth out fear, not your argument with fear, not your willpower over fear. Love itself, recognized, empties the room of intruders without a struggle. Take this as your rule. Do not push the river. Get out of the way of the river. Do not stuff the silence with better speeches. Let the silence announce who lives there. Each time the mind raises its banners, bow and return to the password. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. As you sow that consent, you will reap its climate. The compulsion to manage will slacken. The terror of emptiness will be replaced by a holy spaciousness in which guidance is self-evident. And if on some days the tide of thought is high, do not pronounce failure. The ocean obeys a larger moon. Wait, yield, watch. In due course, The click will return not as a prize for wrestling down the mind, but as the natural outcome of refusing to interfere with God. Absent from the body, present with the Lord, you find again that your life was never in the grip of thinking. It is in the keeping of the one. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Now we must speak of law. For without law you will imagine that silence and the click are private powers you can pocket for rainy days. Never. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. As you sow, so shall ye reap. This is not sentiment. It is an impersonal principle as exact as arithmetic. 2 times 2 is 4, whether chanted by a saint or muttered by a thief. Violate it, and you do not incur anyone's anger. You incur a consequence built into the fabric of being. Build a bridge and ignore the loads, and the structure will tell you where you lied. Run a red light at midnight when you see no policeman, and the law will not chase you. A truck might. It is the same in spirit. There can be no selfish purpose in a cosmic law. It is a double-edged sword. Use it as a weapon, and the edge returns upon the hand that grasped it. What does this mean for so-called rewiring? If you treat rewiring as a clever way to strengthen the little sovereign, more efficiency, more control, more leverage to bend others to your will, you are not becoming free. You are crafting a larger cell with shinier bars. You may succeed for a season in training the mind to line up like drilled soldiers. You may even taste a rush of personal power. But the law has already recorded the seed, self-worship. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. When the mind becomes your God, when the idol is the image of your improved self, the harvest will be inevitable, strain to maintain, fear of losing, isolation behind an armored smile. He that exalteth himself shall be abased, not as punishment by a capricious deity, but as the exact echo of a cause in consciousness. Do not tamper with that which governs worlds and imagine it will wink because your motive is trendy. If you attempt to employ silence to amplify personal ambition, you are like a man who tries to use gravity to jump higher by sawing the branch beneath his feet. Gravity does not argue, it answers. So too love, so too oneness. When you try to project thought to influence another, when you wire your affirmations to force events into your outline, you have moved off the only foundation. You have stepped outside the traffic law and then wondered at the crash. They that take the sword shall perish with the sword. If you take consciousness as a blade to carve your private kingdom, the blade returns to your own door. What then is the safe and only foundation? It is not complicated, but it is absolute, one God, and love thy neighbor as thyself. These are not pious embroideries. They are the engineering of the soul. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. A line there, and the very current that once cut you will carry you. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore love is the fulfilling of the law. In practice, this means I do not seek advantage at your expense. I do not desire what is yours. I do not secretly rejoice when my rewiring outsprints your weakness. In my conscious oneness with God, I find my completeness. Therefore, I have nothing to take from you. When I want nothing you have, and you want nothing that I have, we have met the principle that ends wars before they appear. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. That is why love is law. It recognizes self everywhere, and in that recognition, the impulse to manipulate dies of famine. Test your motive. Then, before you sit, ask, am I seeking to adorn a separate self, or to disappear as instrument? God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. If the old hunger to dominate rises up dressed as improvement, bow it out of the room. If your heart leans to any outline that places you above or apart, hear the first commandment again. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, not even the God of my improved image. Keep to your password, for it is a plumb line. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Thy grace, not my technique. Thy sufficiency, not my accumulation. In this alignment, rewiring ceases to be a project and becomes obedience. It ceases to be a strategy and becomes law fulfilled. As you sow this consent to one God and to love, so you will reap the atmosphere in which the click is holy and harmless, and thought, relieved of tyranny, serves presence instead of serving itself. And if ever you are tempted to bend this law, remember, the principle will not bend with you. Let us bend to it and live. Now you will ask, and it is a fair question, if my conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea, does that mean I can send healing to you? Can I project peace across distance? No, no. Do not tamper. Do not project. We are not given a wand. We are given a way. The click does not make you powerful over persons or events. It removes the desire to be powerful and lets love be what love is, omnipresent, self-acting, without a private agenda, not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, saith the Lord. Understand this, because it is protection and it is clarity. Non-local is not a reach, it is a recognition. It is not a beam hurled from here to there. It is the discovery that there and here are in the one. When union is realized, presence is felt, not dispatched. Peace may radiate as fragrance fills a room, but the rose is not pushing, it simply is. So with the soul at rest in God, absent from the body, present with the Lord, we do not send anything anywhere. We rest in the fact that God is already there as God is here. Whither shall I go from thy spirit, or whither shall I flee from thy presence? If there is no place where God is not, what is there to send? I have studiously avoided mental and physical contacts. I hope you will never try to do it. I never give human advice. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. This is not reticence. It is obedience to law. As you sow, so shall ye reap. If you sow the belief that your mind can reach into another life to fix, to correct, to accelerate, you have already planted intrusion, and intrusion bears its own fruit: resentment, entanglement, spiritual fatigue. The law of love will not be harnessed to a private leash. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. Love does not poke. Love is. Do not think that this prohibits blessing. It purifies it. It removes the private hand, so the hand of God may be seen. When the click comes, do nothing about it. Do not turn and aim it like a spotlight. Rest. Consent. Let the Father within do the blessing, if there is blessing to be expressed. Many times a letter has reached me. At such an hour I felt you near. The pain ceased. And at that hour I was not reaching. I was not thinking of them. I was perhaps reading a page, perhaps sitting in quiet with only the password, "Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things," and then even that fell away. If there was a fruit, it was God's fruit on God's tree, ripened by God's Son. No projection, no claim. Keep this boundary like a hedge around your vineyard. We do not use God, we yield to God. We do not employ the click, we are employed by it. We do not direct love. We stand aside and witness love revealing itself. Speak the word only, and my servant shall be healed, said the centurion. The word is not a mental missile. The word is the recognition of omnipresence. In that recognition, what needs to appear appears not because you ordered it, but because truth, unopposed, is self-revealing. And what does not need to appear does not, and you are free of the itch to manage outcomes in other lives. This is safety. This is clarity. Non-interference keeps your practice clean of sorcery and your heart clean of pride. It spares your neighbor the hidden violence of your good intentions. It anchors you in the first commandment, thou shalt have no other gods before me, so that you do not enthrone your will and call it compassion. If in your sitting a face arises, bless the face into God and return to stillness. If an impulse to fix intrudes, bow and say, not mine, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Then wait. And if a fruit appears in that life or in yours, give thanks without authorship. In due course you will see why we guard this so fiercely. The click strips the ego of its cravings. It removes the desire to control and leaves a holy indifference to outcomes that are not yours to hold. In that indifference, there is immense tenderness, because it is no longer you loving, it is love loving. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. In that oneness, blessing is not a deed, it is a state. It moves of itself, where it will, and no one can trace its path. The wind bloweth where it listeth. Let us not blow. Let us be still and know. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. How shall you know that this surrender is not a fine idea only? The Master has given the measure. By their fruits ye shall know them, not by your report of ecstasy, not by the wattage of your sensations. By fruits, true rewiring is recognized by the simple moral climates that begin to appear without your straining, less compulsion to manage, less fear reactivity when the horn blares or the email smells of threat, more patience with the hour and with your brother, more simplicity in choices, more integrity that does not bargain with itself when no one is looking. The tongue that once rushed to defend learns to be quiet. The hand that once reached to grasp relaxes. The calendar begins to serve purpose instead of driving it. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith. You see, Spirit bears its own fruit. You do not staple apples to a maple and call it an orchard. Let us be very clear, because the personal sense loves to counterfeit. The ego demands fireworks, visions, tingles, pronouncements, so that it may pin a medal to its chest. Spiritual realization is quiet. Choose the quiet. After the wind, after the earthquake, after the fire, a still, small voice. The click is like that. It does not dazzle. It displaces. It does not roar. It rearranges. Do not say, nothing happened because I did not tremble. No, no. Watch instead for what ceases. The reflex to retaliate. The itch to improve everyone you meet. The necessity to explain yourself. Watch for what begins. An ease with delays. A tenderness that makes room. A truthfulness that does not need applause. These are measurable not by instruments, but by obedience. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. Here is a simple diagnostic that has never failed me. Do not use it as a spell. Use it as a plumb line. Sit quietly and let this litany rise, slowly, as if tasting each word. In my oneness with God, I find completeness. In my oneness with God, I find security. In my oneness with God, I find peace. In my oneness with God, I find order. In my oneness with God, I find direction. In my oneness with God, I find sufficiency. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Then stop. Do not elaborate. Watch. In that recognition, thought begins to take its proper seat. It waits to be employed. The mind, that clerk, returns to the desk to serve presence. It schedules what should be scheduled. It declines what should be declined. It remembers what love must not forget. It does not invent a life. It takes dictation from the life that is. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. You will ask about timing, because in the world of watches and reports, you expect growth to look like a graph. Outwardly, yes. Rewiring may look gradual. The temper softens over months. The habits surrender their leases one by one. But inwardly, it begins at the instant of surrender. At the moment the will lays down its sword and the first commandment is honored. That is the seed. As you sow, so shall ye reap. Plant the consent. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things, and immediately the law takes jurisdiction. 2 times 2 is 4. Even before you put chalk to slate, the consequence belongs to the principle, not the theater of appearances. Leaves do not appear in winter because the tree is barren. They appear in season because life is already flowing. Do not dig up the root to see if it is working. Water, wait, and watch the season reveal what was present all along. I have watched this in letters from strangers and in my own kitchen. A man writes, "They insulted me on the call, and I heard the old engine start to rev. Then there was a hush, and I found myself blessing instead of rebutting. We solved the matter in 5 minutes." He did not become clever. Love refused to be absent. A mother tells me she stopped bribing herself to be patient. She sat with the password, and the next morning the home was the same, yet she moved through it as one who is kept. The peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds. Do you hear? It keeps you. You do not keep it. So do not certify your progress by how hard you can feel. Never. Not a bit. Measure by the ways love prevents harm, by the ways truth refuses a lie, by the ways peace endures inconvenience. When thought has been rewired by surrender, it serves presence. It kneels to the altar and asks, "What now?" And the answer is often small and human. Apologize, rest, write the note, pay the bill, close the mouth. These are holy. Perfect love casteth out fear, and fear once cast out does not need to shout about it. Keep to your plumb line. In my oneness with God, I find completeness. Therefore, I do not grasp. In my oneness with God, I find security. Therefore, I do not compete. In my oneness with God, I find peace. Therefore, I do not agitate. And as you sow these recognitions, you will see the fruits that cannot be counterfeited, peace that does not wobble under pressure, love that does no ill, integrity that holds when no one is watching. Then you will know quietly that life unhindered lives, and that thought relieved of its throne has found its proper joy to serve. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Let us not talk about it only. Let us do what we have been told. Sit as you are and make it a little kinder for the body. Let the feet find the floor without strain. Rest the hands lightly, not gripping, not folding as if to hold anything. Let the shoulders drop. Close the eyes, not to become strange, but to spare them their errands. There is no occult reason in any of this. It is mercy. Be still and know that I am God. Let breath be breath. Do not count it. Do not shape it. Let it move as the sea moves under a moon you do not command. In this position, with my eyes closed, I am virtually unaware of having a body, absent from the body, present with the Lord. Now, let the errands of the mind go back to their shelves. Do not outline, do not project, do not come to bargain. If a result has climbed into your lap, set it gently on the floor. If the mind asks, "Shall we get the click tonight?" Answer, "We are not measuring. Our work now is consent. not construction. Whisper once from the heart and not the lips alone. Live thou my life, fulfill thyself in me. And if a second whisper comes, let it be our plumb line. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Then let even words fall if they wish. We are not making silence. We are stepping aside. Wait, not as a claimant, not as a beggar, not as a manager who expects a report. Wait as one who knows there is a river and has ceased digging a personal well. If a thought appears with an urgent face, do not argue. Bow to it and let it pass. If an image begins to compose a plan, say lovingly, not now. If the mind paces with a clock asking, is it happening yet? Answer gently, we are not timing God. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. We knock by consent. We do not batter the door. I can of mine own self do nothing. The Father that dwelleth in me, he doeth the works. You will notice the paradox. The more you want the moment, the more it slips like water from a clenched fist. The click does not come to demand, it comes to relinquishment. When the last private insistence sighs and leans back, when even the desire for the click is placed on the altar as straw, then the room changes without a sound. Sometimes it is a hush that feels like a hand upon the storm. Sometimes it is only the ending of strain and the simple fact of being held. Do not make a production. Do not look for a sign. No, no. Let God be God. I and my Father are one. And if in this sitting nothing seems to happen, do not judge. Do not compare yourself with yesterday or with anyone's letter. We are not accountants. We are instruments. Return to the posture. Return to the password. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Say again softly, live thou my life, fulfill thyself in me, then be still. As you sow, so shall ye reap. Consent is the seed, union is its fruit, and fruit ripens by the sun, not by pulling at the branch. We will give it another minute together. No pushing the river, no prodding the silence. Only this consent, thinner than a breath and stronger than iron. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. Now, whether the click visited you or not, do not gather up the practice like a possession. Rise as you will. Rise from any chair, quietly. Carry nothing but a different center of gravity. Take one sentence with you into the corridor of your day. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. If at the sink or in the street the mind asks for news, give it none. Keep to consent until consent becomes union and union becomes the ordinary air. The peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your heart and mind, not you keeping it, it keeping you. And we will continue gently, without demand, until the hush that is always here is recognized as the life that lives itself as you. Live thou my life. Fulfill thyself in me. Living after the click is quieter than the mind hopes and richer than the senses suspect. Do not make a shrine to a moment. The click is not a trophy to polish or a story to retell at every table. It is a doorway, a small, clean doorway into a way of being where God, not your management, conducts the day. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. The addition is not your project, it is the Lord's proceeding. As you sow, so shall ye reap. If you sow the click as spectacle, you will reap restlessness. If you sow the click as surrender, you will reap order, translated at once into conduct. Do not wait for a mountaintop. Begin with the next irritation. When the horn blares, pause. When the message stings, pause. When the imagination organizes its courtroom and rehearses the perfect reply, pause, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord. In that small stillness, refuse mental revenge. Love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you. Do not dramatize it. Simply do not add harm to harm, not in word, not in thought. Keep one God in consciousness. Thou shalt have no other gods before me, not the God of reputation, not the God of being right, not the God of winning the moment. In my oneness with God, I find security. Therefore, I do not need to triumph. In my oneness with God, I find peace. Therefore, I do not need the last word. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. You will ask how to keep the thread, because the day tugs. Make a life of micro-surrender. 5 seconds is a holy eternity when it is pure. At the doorway, before you enter a room, let the hands uncurl, let the eyes soften, not dreamy, simply unarmed. Whisper within, not loudly, not frantically, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Then step through, without outline. At the sink, before you lift the plate, pause, absent from the body, present with the Lord. At the red light, before you calculate delays, pause. Live thou my life, fulfill thyself in me. Do not steer outcomes from these pauses. Never, not a bit. Let them be pure consent, not bait. If a plan pushes forward to be blessed, say gently, not now. If a fear insists on rehearsal, bless it into God and take the next honest step in front of you. In these micro-surrenders, the mind learns its joy to follow spirit. The clerk returns to the desk and takes dictation. It schedules what love would schedule. It declines what conscience cannot carry. It remembers the small duties that keep mercy from becoming rhetoric. Take no thought for your life did not mean be careless. It meant do not let thought usurp life. Let life think through you as needed. Let the inner stillness precede speech, selection, and stride. As you sow these pauses, watch the day loosen its knots without your pulling. Guard humility as a gate. Do not become a lecturer to your friends, waving the flag of your clique. He must increase, but I must decrease. You are not appointed to correct anyone's road. I never give human advice. I have studiously avoided mental and physical contacts. If someone asks for your peace, give silence its chance. If a word is given, let it be brief and love plain. By their fruits ye shall know them. Let fruits speak. Patience where you were bristled, honesty where you once bent the truth, generosity where you formerly calculated, a private kindness no one will ever know but God. That is testimony. The wind bloweth where it listeth. You hear the sound thereof, but cannot tell whence it cometh, or whither it goeth. So is everyone that is born of the Spirit. Do not trace the wind for others. Be moved by it. Do not be surprised if there are days when the climate feels ordinary and no hush announces itself. The life after the click is not a peak, but a path. Give us this day our daily bread, daily. Not memory's bread, fresh bread. Consent again and again, lightly and faithfully without bargaining. When you fail and you will have hours that look like yesterday, remember, there is therefore now no condemnation. Return at once. Reset the hands, soften the eyes, breathe without managing, and say the password. As you sow, so shall ye reap. Each little yielding is seed, and law does not forget a seed. 2 times 2 is 4 in a palace or a cottage. Grace is sufficiency in a rush hour or at dawn. Here is the simplicity that keeps you. Keep yielding, keep loving, and let mind follow spirit. In my oneness with God, I find direction. Therefore, I do not hurry decision. In my oneness with God, I find order. Therefore, I do not push the river. In my oneness with God, I find completeness. Therefore, I do not grasp. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. And when the day ends, do not audit. Place it in God and sleep as one kept. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Say it once, and let the night carry you as the day has carried you, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. Now let us close the circle where it began, not with effort, but with consent. All that we have said returns to one law, one love, one God. When I want nothing that you have, and you want nothing that I have, there is no war. There is only cooperation under one presence. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. In my conscious oneness with God, I find my completeness, and therefore I have nothing to take from you. In my conscious oneness with God, I find my security, and therefore I have nothing to defend against you. In my conscious oneness with God, I find my peace, and therefore I have nothing to push upon you. As you sow, so shall ye reap. Sow sufficiency, and the harvest cannot be famine. Let us speak the truth of identity quietly and plainly, as one who knows and as one who is learning. I am not in the physical. No surgeon has ever yet found any me inside of a body. Absent from the body, present with the Lord, I and my Father are one. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. In my oneness with God, I find order. In my oneness with God, I find direction. In my oneness with God, I find joy. In my oneness with God, I find sufficiency. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Not a sermon's figure, a fact. Not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. Now the password, not as charm, not as a tool of the little sovereign, but as a willing signature on the covenant of grace. Say it as you would breathe. Say it as you would lay down your sword. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Again, without strain, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. And once more, softer than intention, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. This is not magic. This is permission. It is the opening of the gate that was never truly shut, the returning of the mind to the place of service, the acknowledgement that God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. Carry it where life is most ordinary. At the doorway, before you enter, within, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. At the sink, before you lift the dish, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. At the desk, before you read the line that once ruled you, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. When a face appears that awaken your old defenses, lower the guard and whisper, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. We knock with consent. We do not pound. We do not bargain. We stand and let the door be what it is, a passage from self-management to union. We end not with pressure, not with a promise of spectacles, but with gratitude and release. Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me, and I knew that thou hearest me always. Live thou my life, fulfill thyself in me. Keep these words light on your tongue and deep in your heart, and leave the rest. The peace of God which passeth all understanding shall keep your heart and your mind in Christ Jesus, not you keeping it, it keeping you. If tonight is hushed, give thanks. If tonight feels ordinary, give thanks. There is therefore now no condemnation. Only this, the invitation to knock at the door of your own consciousness and rest. So we seal it simply and fully, not as owners, but as witnesses. I am not in the physical, absent from the body, present with the Lord. I and my Father are one. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. And so it is. And I thank you.